It's kind of interesting. The person who taught me about magic, the person who works in Hollywood and with Donald Trump and the rich elite who control the cities I'm from, and who knows what else they were really doing. Lived in Washington D.C. and all that stuff. Um, they're the ones who showed me about the magic stuff and showed me they had voodoo dolls of me shortly before I was injured, and then they got injured the exact same way right after that. And I just noticed like they had a business that had the name Magic in it, so everything eventually fell together. It was just like as soon as they showed me a voodoo doll of me, this is like the most successful female in the world that anyone I know has ever met and ever will. Um, I realized, like, this isn't just like a retard. This is like a serious individual who does what they want and has whatever they want and talks to everyone in the world who everyone else wishes they could speak to. And they talk to them by calling them up and say, hey, I'm coming over to your house. And it's like it made me realize, like, right away, this isn't just some idiot playing with dolls. Like, I mean, you could talk to that person. You didn't have to know that they were rich and famous and everyone fell to their knees when they came around them. Um, you just talk to them and know, like, they weren't being stupid. Yeah, even the time they said they seen a UFO, it was hard for me to just be like, oh, you're a retard. Because, like, nothing else felt retarded from them. But it made me, like, think right then. This was like when I started noticing the world shifting around me and me being able to alter it. And I assumed that person was actually sent into my life to teach me that stuff, whether they knew it or not, because the relationship didn't last, and I didn't take the diamonds I was offered, and obviously I could have gotten really rich by being with a rich person. I'd be in a really good position right now if I had shut up and thought it was perfect for me to join the rich elite. Um, but one thing I said to them that like really stuck with me, really weird. I said once I was explaining to them how the humans work, how a science cult tells me biology works, and how humans are in a process of decay over regeneration. Once they hit 18 to 28, that um, there's no such thing as old age. There's only death. People are dying once they hit 18 to 28. Some people are dying before that. It's called cellular regeneration, and eventually the cells decay at a rapid rate versus the growth period. That's why humans don't grow to be 900 stories tall and have guts the size of America, generally, right? And because they stop growing. That's why the body decays and they start dying. And so old age isn't like old age. It doesn't, when you turn 18, you don't magically become a genius who has solved all the world's problems. That just means you're dying now. That's all turning 18 means. So now you can go do what you want because life's over. You can go drink, smoke, and kill yourself because life's over. Now you're done growing. And we use the term old age to make people feel special. It doesn't mean you can grab some 80-year-old off the street and he will be able to build a nuclear reactor for you and take you to the planet Saturn and colonize Saturn for you. Just because they're 80 doesn't mean they're going to be able to do that. It just means that they're dead. That's all that means. But I brought that up, and this person like shrieked in terror when I said that. And it made me think like this person like is like in control of the world. Like this is like the highest, most high profile female probably anyone has ever met. And I mean, even these idiots like Angela Merkel don't even sound intelligent. So this person, and this person traveled the world. Angela Merkel is just the lead chancellor of Germany. She hasn't traveled the world. The Marie Le Pen females, they haven't traveled the world. They're just in France. They're just running Front National. They're just leading politicians on the Front National right wing. And this person, like, you wouldn't know her name, but there's no doubt everyone around me would, if you were right there, you would see what happened. And they just did whatever they want, like literally. And people worshiped them, and they took over whatever event they went to. They did whatever they want. Like, it was like they're just multitude. And so that person, like did all this magic stuff, and you're like, wow, they're like way above. I mean, forget the fact it's a female. I've never met a male in that high of a position, except for a few really rich oligarchs. Like I rebuilt a Masonic temple, like probably the largest one I've ever seen. And I don't know, the one in Beverly Hills is it was pretty big. I seen it from the outside, but they were scared of the flu, so they had to shut down, and I couldn't get inside. But I think the one I rebuilt in Columbus, Ohio, was actually bigger than that. So I met the people who are behind the restoration of that, and I can only assume that those people were infamous and were people I didn't know who they were exactly that I worked for. And then, just like this other person I worked for, when I went to their house to do a private party, they had a jungle inside of their house and a waterfall inside of their house. So if you can afford to maintain something like that, you're probably like, considering I know the richest, and then with the girl I'm talking about, I worked with the second richest person as well in my city. I believe that was probably the third richest person in my city that we were working for that day. And so I don't remember who that was, but so I met those people and I worked for them, but maybe those people were more, especially Lex Wexner. I don't remember meeting him specifically. I just know our corporation, like my family worked for him. And I know I went to his house to get paychecks before, one of his houses. Who even knows if he was there? Because this looked like a small house. It's like he literally owns the whole city. I really doubt anyone but his butler was in there. So out of the people I met, it's possible that she was even above the males I met. But that person freaked out when I had explained science to them. And eventually, like, some of the stuff I seen, it made me think like I'm like inventing this stuff as it goes. And when I was saying that, like, she understood that me talking about old age being death was kind of like cursing her, because I mean she looked pretty young for her age and stuff. And with all our other magic stuff, and obviously the position she was in, there was something going on in the world she understood. And especially with my injury happening after she showed me her little doll, and then it happening to her, like I was almost being shown, I'm pretty sure I was being shown something, but she freaked out when I brought that up, like I was cementing that science, because science is like an illusion, right? So we're inventing this stuff and making it happen, I'm assuming, because how else can you like summon blizzards that cover entire nations or make volcanoes erupt unless this stuff around us isn't real, right? But that was just one of those things. Like I should, if I didn't lose like my ability to upload during 2020, I'd have like something crazy every day, all day long. I think I posted the video a long time ago where I was at that. I was traveling through North or like Southern California before it got to the open area where there was nothing. And it was like one of the last tourist areas. But like every single person at that large place, when I started going around trying to talk to them about what was going on, they all did the same thing. And I couldn't talk to them anymore because each group of like 7 people was like lined up in the same formation and taking pictures. One of them was taking pictures of the other 6. And I showed that video, and there's no way that doesn't look odd. And that happened as if the people have no thoughts and they're being mind controlled by something else. And all these things adding up just simply point to the fact that none of this is real. And obviously players within the game are not real either, because they're not having their own thoughts and they're not taking their own actions. And we could see that, especially from 2020. That's one of the things I asked for everyone to see. But mainly that just showed me that no one else is able to take their own action. It took a year for them to create the narrative that anyone cared about what was happening in 2020. Like, no one cared. Like, literally, they didn't have the programming put into them to even notice that there was something going on. And then when 2021 rolls out, 6 of them can now magically say, ooh, we should oppose this stuff. And if you're not those 6 people, then you're not allowed to say any of that stuff either. So still, it's almost like none of those people, none of the humans are even talking against that or opposing it. I haven't seen one of them. Every time I see anyone who's the opposition, it's one of them. So with all that stuff added up, you can see like the world isn't real. And so it's being invented somehow. And when I see stuff and I talk about stuff and it comes into the world like car crashes or volcanoes or blizzards, and before that, I'm pretty sure I first started noticing that when that flood happened when I left Columbus, Ohio, and then there's like a couple floods before that too, which kind of made me start wondering what was happening. But when you see all that, it makes me realize like this isn't real, and a lot of this is like really fake. And the other thing too is the telepathy and the other people acting like they understand who I am and what's going on in my head and what I'm saying, and they're not around. And it's like I don't know any of these people. I've ran into hundreds of thousands of people. No one knows who I am, or they shouldn't, right? But yet somehow they do. They don't have their own thoughts. And then the ones like, oh, I hear voices in my head when I ask them. It's like, well, I'm not going to waste my time asking anymore. Because when people can just come up to me and say stupid stuff, then it's clear, like they're not like having their own thoughts. They don't have their own brains, and hell, it's like they're being injected into the system simply to go along with some sort of narrative I'm involved in, and they didn't even exist before that. Which is exactly what I'm seeing when I'm seeing buildings and stuff appear, and I'm going places which existed for like 6,000 years or 20 billion years. And it's like, no, wait a minute, that just appeared. Like, that's not actually happening. So I found that interesting when that girl started freaking out, because if I were to like listen to anyone in the world, I would listen to that person, because she was just like far above everyone I've ever met. And, it's not like I would go on the street and ask a chickadee or a sparrow or a pigeon where to go in life next. On the other hand, I would go to the opposite of that, and I would ask that person where to go in life next. But more intelligently, I would just watch that person, because I wouldn't trust their words. And I would see what they're doing. And that's what I did. I watched them play with their voodoo dolls. I watched them do whatever they want in life and shell out money and travel wherever they want and work with the world's most famous people in the world's most famous places and stuff like that. And everyone else worship them too. So it's not just me worship them type thing. I don't necessarily worship anyone, but it's kind of sick how everyone else worshiped them. But yeah, when they freaked out over that, it made me realize like there must be some sort of other control going on. And then eventually I realized like I think that person was in my life to teach me that stuff, because there were just too many clues about the magic, and then the voodoo, and she spoke about it, things like that as well. And you could just tell like this is not like a retard, right? I mean, not as retarded as everyone else who made it nowhere near that person in their ventures in life, or didn't even attempt to. I mean, this person at least attempted to. That puts them above, but they made it a way different thing there than just attempting. But they freaked out when I said that stuff, and it made me like. And then I started noticing things in the world shift when I talked about stuff like that too. But no one's ever really explained it to me like that, except for the time she showed me the voodoo doll. Like it's one of the only times someone had like attempted to point out that there's something else going on in the world that's being affected.